This is your stockalert.com here today to bring you a video chart of TOPZ, Topaz Resources Inc. Topaz Resources Inc. is a development stage company that operates as an independent oil and gas company in Texas. It focuses on production, acquisitions, and developmental drilling opportunities within proven producing areas of North, Central, West Texas. It was founded in 2009. Moving on to the chart itself, first thing we're going to do is identify lines of support and lines of resistance where they exist. Right now we're going to look for lines of support. And as we can see, we just broke resistance here at 0.05. And once resistance is broken, that quickly becomes the new support. So a new support is actually going to be right here at 0.05. Of course, we always look for a secondary line of support. And as we can see, 0.035, the stock fell a bit here, but it managed to recover from this point. This point is going to be our second line of support right here. Next, we're going to find the top. We always want to know exactly how far stock can be expected to run. First thing is we're going to look at the strongest level of resistance, and it's going to be right here at 0.10, which makes a lot of sense since that would represent a gain of 100% from our current level here. Next, we're going to look for another possible line of resistance. And that possible line be found right here about at 0.08. So here's our second line of resistance, which means we have about 3 cents until we reach another level of resistance here, which this is going to be the target profit area in between 0.05 and 0.08. And if we can break resistance, then we're going to aim for 0.10. The next thing we're going to look at is the volume. Let's see what volume's been doing. Volume's a great indicator of interest. And as we can see, from the months of August through half of November, volume's been very moderately low. There's not been too much interest in the stock. However, the stock price did manage to climb from 0.05 to about 0.010 during this period of low trading and managed to hold itself pretty well. Then coming here, we see we had a huge selling day. Apparently someone in the stock wasn't exactly too pleased by this pullback here and decided to take their profits here and sell out. And that heavy selling caused the stock price to temporarily crash all the way down to a little bit below 0.03. The stock quickly recovered, and we can see that during this next high volume buying day for the stock, and it climbed all the way back to 0.010. So whoever sold on this particular day more than likely regretted it within the next 2 days here. Now looking at current volume, we can see that after this big activity day here, volume's been relatively high for the stock, including today's trading period. As we can see, some more interest is coming back to this stock, which is always great. It's always something we want to see. When it comes to OTC trading, we know that liquidity can come and go. However, we never want to enter or play a position when the liquidity is at its lowest. As you can see, playing this position here, while it did, let's see, this point was what, 0.06, while buying on this day would eventually end up being profitable, you would have had to wait weeks of heart-wrenching unsureness of whether the stock was going to do anything at all before it finally reached this high, and it would have taken you quite a couple days to be able to sell out of your position without bringing the stock price down, as you can see. Next, we're going to look at the accumulation and distribution indicators. As we can see, the stock has had pretty steady accumulation up until this sell-off day. However, what's good is that accumulation quickly bounced and now started to consolidate, and it's pretty much stabilized within the last couple of days, as we can see right here. This isn't the best situation for accumulation, as we always like to see the curve pointing upward, but as long as it's stable or flat, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That usually represents periods of consolidation, and as we can see, we have consolidation here after that fall, so that's to be expected. Next, we're going to look at the ADX. A trend is anything over 20 points. The ADX is represented once again by this white line. As we can see, we have an ADX of 29, meaning that there is a trend in place. The negative DI, represented by this red line here, shows us if the trend is positive or negative. If the red line is over the green line, that trend is considered to be negative. And if the positive DI, represented by the green line, is over the negative DI, then it's considered to be a positive trend. Right here, as you can see, the overall trend, long-term trend, seems to be negative. However, the negative DI and positive DI are converging here. And when looking for a trend reversal, the first thing that's going to happen is the ADX, the plus DI and negative DI, are going to converge together. When a negative trend is getting stronger, these lines will diverge further, as we can actually find an example here. So you can see these lines were heavily converged, meaning that, in fact, we can see the ADX was actually under 20 here. There was no real trend. The bulls and bears were fighting equally. Then all of a sudden we can see the negative DI start to diverge farther and farther away from the positive DI as the negative trend increased in power. Now, following this, we can see that trend weakened, temporarily strengthened here, about the 15th, and after that has actually tapered off. And if we look really close, we can actually see that the positive DI is actually starting to curve upward, and this negative DI here is actually, the slope is starting to curve downward. So the bulls are slowly taking over in this stock. In the opinion of YourStockAlert.com, we see TOPZ.Topaz Resources Inc. has potential for the short term. While we're not saying this is a buy and hold type of stock, we do believe this does have a nice trading opportunity, as we can see the convergence here after a downtrend. In the past, when the stock has done this particular move, we see that right here, let's see, when the stock had this similar type pattern, we see that TOPZ quickly was able to accumulate in price, temporarily at least, and all investors who saw this convergence going on here were able to profit on that move. As always, do your own due diligence and use proper trade management when entering a trade. Pick your sell and buy points before entering, and as always, logic over emotions. This is YourStockAlert.com signing out. Good luck, traders.